Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a pack review. There's a bunch of stuff in the store here. We're looking at this large galactic upgrade, and then some of these packs down in this range. Are they worth purchasing? What's the value behind them? How can you determine if you should be purchasing them or not, and is it worth spending the money? We'll get into that. We're going to kind of discuss how you can analyze what the value is inside of a pack, because there's a lot of stuff in these things at times, and not all of it is really worth trying to figure out whether it's worth a penny or two. So with that said, please like and subscribe, comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys. Let's give our shouts, of course, to our channel members for their continued support. If you're ever interested, link down below along with a link to the Discord server. Go check it out, guys. Whether you are an existing member and you haven't yet joined, go join. And if you're you've never been a member but you just want to join the Discord, go join the Discord. Like, it's awesome. So thank you for being a part of this community, guys. Let's get into our video. Alright, so the first pack I want to start with is this large Galactic Upgrade Kit 3. This pack, in my opinion, is one that the value drastically changes when there's any kind of bonus drops going on, because when there's energy in these bundles, it only gets valued at what you would pay for it. And that's like the first thing to understand with any of these packs. The value in the pack is completely determined on what you would spend your crystals on. So with this pack, for me, I would spend my crystals on energy, and then like crystals for crystals, right? That's fine. So this pack is worth, to me, 150 crystals here. Worth about, each of these, 750 of regular, fleet, and mod energy. That translates to about 300 crystals. I spend 50 crystals per refresh to get 120. So you figure if I do 6 refreshes of 120, I get to 720 energy. So roughly 6 refreshes, and then that's going to cost me 300 crystals total. So each of these bits of energy is worth, 300 crystals, give or take. So you think 300 crystals, 300 crystals, 300 crystals, and then 150. So now we're at what? 1,050 crystals of value. And then 450 Cantina energy. That's worth almost 400 crystals. So I'm going to just round it and call it, we'll call it 400 crystals. It's not, but we'll call it 400 for the sake of argument. So then there's 400 crystals. So you're looking at what? 1,400 crystals of value from, the energy and the crystals. But this is a $20 pack. So if I would compare 1,400 crystals, I can buy that for $10. So that means that the rest of these pieces in here need to come up to $10. And for me, it's just not there. There's not enough value for my account here. The mod materials, these aren't ones that I'm normally spending crystals on. I don't need to spend crystals directly on Kyrotech. I spend crystals on energy that I turn into Kyrotech, but I'm not just buying Kyrotech with my bonus crystals. So to me, there's no other value inside of this pack. If I was really short on Kyrotech and I'm using my bonus crystals, if I needed the mod stuff, then maybe it gets worth it. But overall, I don't see the value in this bundle. I think it's just not really worth it. And even like the shards, if you're like, oh, I need these. The way to ask it, are you willing to spend your crystals to earn 3 shards of Emperor's Shuttle, 3 shards of Anakin's ship? It's not if you need it, it's are you willing to spend the crystals? Because when it's a monetary pack, you've got to take that next step that you're not just spending your bonus crystals, you're spending legitimate money. Like, would you even spend your crystals on it? If the answer is no, then why would you spend your money on it, right? So that's this bundle. I don't think it's worth it. The next one we're going to analyze here is the this Jawa Merchant Chance bundle. And we're going to just start by saying that the 20 Zimmetal cards, it's not an awful value, right? It's not awful value there, but it's definitely not great. So let's pop over here to our Relic Farming Guide. And just to show you that from a shipment cost perspective, these are worth, 1,400 crystals gets you 10 of them. So this is almost 3,000 crystals from a shipment perspective worth of Zimmetal cards. The thing is, you've got this bundle here, which is really, really nice that you can purchase. So the 20, going back to the pack here in game, the 20 Zimmetal cards to me is the weakest pull here. In my opinion, that is 1,000% the weakest pull. Then we're going to analyze the signal data. Now, the signal data here, each of these, when you compare them to the shipments, and again, we'll flip back over to the screen capture here. So the 3 kinds of signal data there. when you compare that to what you could purchase them in shipments for, it all comes out to 3,000 crystals. If you take that value and say, hey, how much is it? It's 3,000 crystals worth of that signal data each. So there's pretty good crystal value there. However, the value of signal data to me is very different than the shipment cost. So this is a spreadsheet, and I'll link this and the comprehensive relic guide again. I'll link both of these in the video description. I've been using these a lot lately coming back. But in this particular instance, you're looking at the shipment prices here. So this is the valuation of the signal data inside of that pack. But from a fat fill perspective, this is my valuation of those signal data when I compare it to what I'm spending when I farm it. That when I farm the white signal data, I guesstimate, and I farm it a lot, that I get about 10 pieces of signal data for every 120 energy spent. I get 7 of the green, and I get 4 of the blue. So that drops the cost of that signal data to, down a little bit. So all of a sudden, when you go back, if we go back to the game here and you look at that pack, I said that the white signal data for me is only worth about 10 crystals per piece. So this goes from a 3,000 crystal value to 2,000 when I use my method. And it's a similar thing here. It goes down to about 2,000 crystals, a little bit over, because 150 divided by 7 doesn't quite get us to, 2,000 crystals. I think it's a little bit over that. And then, the 100 at 25, again, it's still a significant amount of, it's still I think it's 2,500 crystals worth of signal data, give or take. It's not awful, but it's not great, right? There's going to be better ways to do this. So that's kind of the way that I value signal data, is I kind of compare it to what I can farm it for. I would try to say the same thing for Kyrotech, but unfortunately Kyrotech, it's a little bit more challenging because you do get a lot of it for free. But I would tell you that for $10, getting 100 of each, getting 100 Kyrotech is a pretty solid value. I don't know that it's, I couldn't tell you the exact number, but they sell 50 of them for $5, so you're getting, 100 for $10. I think it's a fair trade, right? I'd say this is a fair trade. The signal data, I'd argue it's a fair trade. You could argue, depending on what your account needs, of whether this is better, which one of those drops is better. Then you get to the next two areas that I'd say there's some pretty decent value. And that's your Gerda keypads and your impulse detectors. Those are pretty solid values here. So if we go to our comprehensive relic farming guide, if you go to impulse detectors, these are worth 180 crystals per piece. So to get 15 of these, you'd be spending about 2,700 crystals. So that's a solid value there, right? We'll take that. That's a solid value when you go back to that pack to get 15 of them for $10, 2,700 worth of crystals. That's a pretty solid deal. The 10 Gerda keypads there, I don't think is quite as good as the impulse detectors, if I'm being honest. Gerda keypads go for 250 crystals for 10, so not quite as good of a return as the impulse detector. Still a solid purchase, but not quite as much on the saving side of things. Just looking again at the shipment cost, which is the only way to do this for those pieces. So then that leaves these Zetas and the Omicrons. Those, in my opinion, are the two most valuable things in this pack because they're the only things that really aren't whalable outside of packs. They don't sell these in the shipments for crystals. Everything else here is available for purchase with crystals. So, while you could get more of some of these than you would with crystals, these two you really can't get anywhere else, and that's where the value in this pack really is. So this is it's a decent pack. There's a 3 purchase limit. It's equal chances. It's all right. It's not fantastic, but it's all right. If you're somebody who's like, I'm going to spend money no matter what, this is not an awful purchase. But I would not say it's great value because there's only 2 things in here that are really, really worth wailing on, if I'm being perfectly honest. This signal data bundle is one that I would say, if you're a free-to-play and in dire need of signal data, this could be solid value because if you do the math on the cost of the signal data to shipments, right, just from a shipment cost, it comes out to $19.50 for each of these. That if I was to do, if I go back to my relic farming or the signal data sheet here, right, if I just take the shipment pieces and I said, hey, equals this times 30. And if I just drag that down, oops, I didn't want to do that. If I just drag this down for the sake of argument, I get to 1950 here. You guys see that? The, 1950 over there. If I take each of these and multiply it by the 30, you break even on that pack regardless. So that pack here, bare minimum, you're going to break even here and potentially do better. The only thing I would say here is that the benefit you can get varies greatly depending if you get the extra on the blue, the green, or the white. And the probability in this pack, what you have to recognize is that the each item's quantity is determined independently. So it's not a 10% chance to get 75 of each signal data. It's much lower than that. It's a, because you're evaluating that individually, it's kind of like flipping a coin 3 times and saying, hey, I'm going to get heads. Really, you think like there's 3 probabilities, but just call it 2, that there's a 50% chance of 30 and a 50% chance to get more than 30. If you flip that coin 3 times in a row, you have a 1 in really like 6 chance of getting, I think even worse than that, of getting a like heads 6 times in a row, right? Like you're not gonna, when you flip that coin, I don't know if I'm wording that properly. If you're flipping a coin 3 times in a row, sorry, I'm an idiot. When you're flipping that coin 3 times in a row, you have like a 1 in 6 chance of actually having heads 3 times in a row, because it could go tails, heads, heads. There's all these options. Again, law of probability. I'm sorry, I rambled. My apologies. Basically what I'm trying to say, while this one is solid from a shipment cost perspective, the valuation drops a little bit because they're valuing, it's not a 10% chance to get 75 of each. It's a 10% chance 3 times. And that's where it loses a little bit of the value, in my personal opinion. Because you're not going to get the max drop on every single one, most likely. So, I did want to talk about this bundle here. Just avoid this one. It's not worth it. You have a 70% chance to basically lose, in my personal opinion. And then you have impulse detectors, air magnifiers, and then a 1% chance to get everything. Look, just avoid this. There's better ways to spend your crystals. This bundle here, I don't hate this bundle simply because you're getting Zetas, right? There's not a lot of ways to get Zetas. But what you have to really understand here is that it's a 95% chance that you're not going to get any Omicrons. So when you're determining the value of this pack, I would almost always ignore the Omegas and you're looking only at the Zetas. So you're guaranteed to get 8 Zetas, bare minimum, for 2,500 crystals. So almost 300 crystals per Zeta. It's not an awful trade, but to get 12 of them sounds a lot nicer. I just don't see a ton of value here, unless you need Zetas like crazy. Like for me, I'm not buying this, right? The chances to get Omicrons are so slim, like it just isn't worth it. And then we've got this bundle here for the characters. I think these are always great bundles. It is just funny because like we think this is one of the best packs, like 1,000 crystals to get a 7-star character. And then you remember that they sold the Lightspeed bundles for $10 that gave you like relics on them. So, it is funny, like just to think back to that like you're paying almost $10 just for a 7-star character when we were paying $10 and getting like 5 relic 5s. Sorry to burst everybody's bubble there. But all that said, this is always a pretty decent purchase, especially if you need a lot of these characters. Myself, I only need 3 of them, so we're avoiding this like the plague. But for a lot of players, this is definitely, I'd say, a gamble worth taking because there are some very valuable, characters in here. And I can tell you in the past, I purchased a bundle like this, and I did get BT1. Now, I've never actually gone and upgraded him, but it saved me the time of farming him. I'd have him now anyway, but it did save me. Like, I have used these to good effect in the past. They can be a very, very good source of getting a character that you might not otherwise have farmed. So I don't hate these at all. I would argue I did the math. It's like 178 total characters in here. So if you would divide that number by 3, you get what? Like 59 characters. So if you need like 59 characters or more from this pack, I'd argue it's worth that, like that 1/3 chance. If you're below that, you're kind of in that, getting a little bit too risky with 1,000 crystals. Probably not worth it. Just turn that into Shark Shop currency. The last bundle I want to cover here is this Kyrotech bundle. Now, this one is for real money. Now, I'm unsure on the wording here. Because it says, take advantage of this opportunity to get up to 175 Kyrotech salvage and a full Kyrotech gear piece. So I am going to take this that the best you can do is 175 Kyrotech salvage and a full Kyrotech gear piece. So the first card, there's 3 different cards. The first card drops one of the following Kyrotech gear pieces. So it's going to drop either one of these, or one of these. They're all the same thing. They're all each 50 of the prod salvage and 50 of the computer salvage. They just do different things. So bear that in mind. I will always tell you that salvage is a much more valuable resource for Kyrotech than the actual pieces, only because, like, there's nobody I have that needs this. If you look at that, there's nobody I have that needs this piece. Whereas I have characters that need this piece and this piece, but nobody currently needs this one. So do understand you are kind of gambling. Like, if you don't have anybody who actually needs this piece at the current moment, like, what are you going to do with it? Yeah, it's it's salvage that you won't have to farm otherwise, but you're not immediately using it. So, keep that in the back of your head there. That's why I always will say salvage is the better option here, because you can use it to craft whatever you need. The second drop here will give you Mark 7 Shock Prod and Mark 9 Battle Computer. So this is where I said the wording up here is a little bit confusing, because it says opportunity to get 175 salvage and a full piece. But this, the way that I'm reading this card, drops Mark 7 and Mark 9. There's a 60% chance for 50 of each, a 35% chance of 75 each, and 5% chance for 100 of each. So I read that as a 60% chance to get 50 of Mark 9 and Mark 7. So right there, if you got that, that's 100 Kyrotech salvage. That's the way I'm reading that. So, and then card 3 is going to drop Mark 7 and Mark 9, and there's a 60% chance of 25 each, 35% for 50 of each, and 5% chance for 75 of each. So if you take the 100 of each and the 75 for each, that's where they get the 175. But the way it's worded, and somebody please in the comments, I don't know, so I'm not going to say it's recommended. If I find out more, I will post in my Discord. I tried to ask. I didn't hear back from anyone, I don't think. So Lord Dominus did get back to me. So he got he purchased this bundle. So he got 75 here. I'm going to share my screen here. Hold on. Lord Dominus did buy this, so this is good information for us. So he got, where's the Discord? There it is. Whoops, I got it. That's the wrong way to do that. Sorry, hold on. Should have done it to my screen capture, because the Discord's set up for somebody's face. There we go. All right, so Lord Dominus, he purchased this. He got 75 Kyrotech of 75 salvage, 75 salvage, and then the full piece here, right? That's what that shook out to. So that tells me that he got, so I think for me, what that says is that this bundle gave him, he got the 50% here. He got 50 here, 50 here, and 25 here. So just going off of that, my gut assumption says that you have the potential to earn more than 175 Kyrotech. I could be wrong. I don't know how that shakes out. But I think that of each is taking effect here, and that you could get significantly more Kyrotech than 175 here. That you could actually get 350 with that 5% chance of getting 100 of each and 75 of each. 175 multiplied by 2 would be 350. So I do think, seeing his results, I'm more so wondering if there's I'm trying to just see if I'm reading that right or if I'm being an idiot. No, you know what? I'm an idiot. I think this is just 175. That he got 75 Kyrotech, and then I wish I could ask him. Hold on, I'm gonna ask him here live. So you get 3 cards with the on them, or was there like So I'm trying to do the Lord's work for you guys here. I'm trying to figure it out. I am asking that question like, hey man, is this, let's see if he gets back here. If not, I will go in the I'll do like an edit or something here, but if it's the option of the like 50 plus 50 and 25 plus 25, I think this bundle is like well worth it. Trying to see if he's on. Yep, yeah, okay, he's definitely online, so let's hope he sees that. So but anyway, so back to the game here, while I wait for that response. So again, depending what this says, we'll edit everything. I'm not editing. And then the last one I did want to mention is this bundle here for like your Omicron stuff. So this is another example of like what would you actually, how many of your crystals would you actually spend on this stuff? And for me, that's where bundles like this, the entire value is baked into the Omicrons. Like, I'm not spending crystals on any of the rest of this stuff. It's just not worth it. So I think for me, the way I view this is that, like, if you really want Omicrons, buy this. Otherwise, it's just a waste, right? And there's plenty of other bundles in here, but I just wanted to cover those ones in particular because they were new. They're ones I hadn't really, we haven't really seen before, or if we had, it's been a little bit. I have not heard back from Dominus yet. Hold on. I'm trying to see if he's around. If not, guys, I will make sure to update everybody in the Discord with how that shook out. But so far, it's inconclusive because he got like what could be the worst drops, or he got some pretty decent ones, and the way it's worded just sounds strange. So I and again, this goes back to just if I continue rambling here, this goes back to the whole problem I have with a lot of these packs is the wording is just so strange. So it's not always consistent. It's not always good. But let me know your thoughts. Love you all. Like, subscribe, comment. Stay tuned for updates on this. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.